welcome to Between Three Rivers. We've got a special edition with Rick, but also because we're in the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo, which is really cool. Sorry, Rick, we wanted to have you out to Sweetwater, but
yeah,
I
wanted to go to Sweetwater, and I'm sweating. It's very hot today.
Oh, and that studio is so cool. It's just
right,
just like,
yes.
But it's
75 degrees.
This is cool too, though. I think
cool.
This is cool, but we could have done it, on a cooler day.
Yeah.
And done the studio. But hey, I'm not angry.
Yeah.
I'm flexible here.
I think you could probably put some AC in here, right?
Yeah, we could work on that.
So we always have an intro topic to our podcast, and today we wanted to talk about something that just came out in the news. Andrea, you sent it to us.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the U.S. Surgeon General is now wanting to put like a warning on all the social media sites to help keep parents and people in mind that it can be a bad thing to become addicted to, just
Right.
like how cigarettes.
Yeah, so like I think what I was reading too is cigarettes, like they put a label on there that says "Be warned," right? And I think like we talk about mental health and phone, screen time, everything on our podcast, and because we know that youth, but also adults, like I think there was a stat on there, is like you use like 4 hours a day of social media, and I mean we're talking like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all these are X now.
Yeah. I would even say video games too, because kids can sit on those forever, and you're locked in with other people, and
Right.
so you never know what you're going to hear. So that's pretty scary.
Yeah, because you have the headphones on. You're listening,
and I'm so glad when my kids were younger, I didn't let them go on those global sites where they could connect with other people.
right?
Because it's
Because you don't know what they're going to hear.
You don't
There's
know.
no filter there. They're just like,
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
Because I mean, I think of it as like literally like instead of doing anything else productive, you're like scrolling, and they call it infinite scrolling. So you just keep going, right?
Yeah.
And there's no stop or anything like that. Say you've been like Netflix has. You've been watching this show for a while. It's.
I find that as an adult, though, sometimes when I'm getting ready to go to bed, I'm just looking through social media, I keep going, and I have to say, okay, stop.
Right.
Enough's enough.
Yeah, you look at the time, you're like, oh dang.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe you can prove to yourself that you're not addicted by getting off of all that social media, that electronic communication stuff for, say, a month.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
Right.
You'll probably find you have a lot more time on your hands.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a 2-week vacation, and I'm thinking about disconnecting all that stuff and just sending a note out a couple days in advance saying, I will not be on social media
There you go.
for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
See
And
if I
can you do it? You
I
think
don't
you
know.
can do that? And
I don't know. We'll
Be
have
okay?
to check back.
Yeah. Are you going to be like reaching like phantom? Well, they go phantom reaching like
That
to
could
nothing.
be. It is a habit, right?
Yeah, it's a
To
habit,
pick up your
right?
phone and look at your phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Well,
is.
I turned off all my push notifications because like before I'd have a bunch come up and everything, I'd click them. But if you have all those on, I mean, you're on there all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You always find something more interesting than what you're already doing.
Right. Well, and so I ran a marathon for Screen Sanity about 2 years ago, and they're like really in on this. They're like, hey, we need to bring awareness to screen time, and so it was really powerful, like message to hear from them as well. But I guess we wanted to talk about this because we have a beautiful zoo here in Fort Wayne, and you can come and not look at social media here. You can look at animals. You can look at different, life.
You could ban phones from the.
Well, it's interesting because we don't have a lot of technology in the zoo, and that's on purpose. We don't want people to stand in front of monitors or have to get on their phone to access an app or those kind of things. And we've made that decision because we get the pressure. Can you add an app, a zoo app? Can you add some more videos in this space? Can you add some technology? And so we have very few locations where we do that.
Yeah, which is, I remember when I first came here and I was talking to you and Amy Lazoff, and I was like, I wonder what would happen if you guys had an app that were like a map, on there. And you're like, well, it's kind of like the opposite. We want to have people looking at things, instead of looking at a phone. So I like that. That's neat.
Yeah, yeah. But at the same time, there are people saying, but this is reality. This is the real world. Get up to speed. Make it easy and convenient for your guests.
So along those lines, Rick, Rick.
Rick works.
How, like, behind us we have zebras, and I think you said wildebeest. Maybe?
Yes.
What are there others?
Ostrich is out there.
Ostrich. Are there? How realistic is the environment here relative to what they would be seeing in their natural habitat? And in particular, well, it's obviously this is a much safer place for these animals, because I've seen some video about what goes on in the jungle, and it's not a pretty scene. So how close are they besides that risk?
Yeah. Well, the heat today is right on par. I mean, I'm feeling the African heat. Are you not?
Yeah.
So they're pretty happy right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, they're doing just fine out there. But you're right. Obviously, predators won't get to them. We provide all their food, so they have all the food they need. They don't have to go hunting and searching for food. We bring out the food every day for them. We prepare it for them in our commissary. So that's great. If they start getting sick, if they don't feel well, the keepers will alert our vet team. We've got 3 vets on staff. So that's not really realistic, right? Because we'll come out and we'll take care of them. And if we have to take them to our hospital, we can do that. But what is realistic is they've got a very large space. They can roam around on their own. We don't push them to certain areas. They can decide where they want to go. They can decide if they want to eat or not. There's food available to them. So that is very similar.
And this space is big too. I mean, you got
It looks pretty big.
how many square footage? Like just
I think it's almost 10 acres, maybe 7 acres for them to roam. It's funny because they actually usually stick around right behind this station. They don't roam the whole footprint, except for Penny. Penny will walk around the perimeter of the space.
Are they related to each other? Are they? How does that work? How do you bring them in and know that they're going to be okay amongst each other?
So that is actually a part of the species survival plan. So there is an organization that's a part of AZA. We're gonna dive into this.
We're
gonna go.
We're going.
So we are accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, and so there are about 236 zoos that are accredited by this association, and they come in to make sure we are meeting the gold standard of zoos, that we're taking care of our animals, they have the appropriate space, they have the appropriate food, that the zoo is financed appropriately to take care of these animals. They look at our vet records. They look at everything. In fact, we just went through an inspection a couple weeks ago. And a part of that is the species survival plan. And so they help monitor.
we got bugs, we got birds, we got
like legit. So they help with. If we need an animal at the zoo, we go to a coordinator, the species survival plan coordinator, to say we need a lion or we need a giraffe. And their job is to then look at all the animals, all the giraffes out there, and decide which one we get based on availability. So if there's a zoo that doesn't want giraffes anymore, or there's a giraffe that was born at that zoo that needs to be moved to another zoo, just to keep the genetics clean, we can do that. So it's an amazing co-op, I guess, where you can work together with these coordinators.
So these coordinators, is there a clearinghouse where they can go, and is it all like in one place?
Each zoo has 1 or 2 or 3 coordinators, and so for this zoo, for example, we've got somebody who manages the kangaroo species. So if there's another zoo that needs a kangaroo, they would call our person here at this zoo, and they would coordinate that kangaroo for them. Could come from another zoo, not necessarily from this zoo, but it could come from another zoo.
and even like babies and stuff like that. When you might lose a baby to another zoo because of the genetic you're talking about.
Yep.
And also you could get another species other than that baby's species too, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, whatever we have here at the zoo, we'd work with the other accredited zoos to get the animals that we need. It's also based on space. Sometimes a space isn't large enough for a certain number. So, you start having babies.
Oh, were there some animals that were acting up there, so they took care of them?
That sound
Cannon or whatever it was.
I don't know what that was.
Hopefully not.
But if we need to run, we should start moving.
But hey, that's a good transition, because we usually do that intro topic and then we actually introduce our guest. But we were like, hey, we can't really introduce you. You this is your space.
Okay.
So, but what I
right.
wanted to do was I wanted to say this is Rick Schuiteman.
Schuiteman. Rick
Got it.
Schuiteman.
I knew I'd mess it up.
Yep. You're good. You're good.
vitamin.
Everybody does.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
and there's a couple things I wanted to hit on because some
Sure.
people may not know. So, you came from SeaWorld San Diego,
That's right.
and that was a whole. I read your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Speaking of social media, I was on there.
Yeah.
And you were all the way from like, guest services to operations to VP. I mean, was there anything you didn't do at SeaWorld?
Well, yes, there were a lot of things I didn't do at SeaWorld, but I was there for 34 years, so it was a big chunk of my life. I never really thought I was going to leave SeaWorld. I kind of felt like I was destined to go all the way up the ranks and eventually run that park. That didn't happen. That's okay, because I'm at this zoo now, which is absolutely beautiful. So.
Right. That was kind of like my lead in is like, what, I guess, did the zoo find you, or Fort Wayne Zoo find you, or how did?
No, I found the zoo. So COVID, it was right in the middle of COVID. SeaWorld shut down. So SeaWorld was shut down for a year, which meant nobody could go in. We were all furloughed. So there was no money coming in, no health, medical insurance. And so it shut down in middle of March. And then I said to my wife, hey, this could be a life-changing opportunity. Let's see what is out there. And I saw that Jim Anderson, the longtime zoo director here, he was here for 44 years.
Wow. Yeah.
He announced his retirement, and they were doing a nationwide search. And I read up on the zoo and looked at the experience needed, and I just thought, I think I could do this. So I applied for the job, and then I got a note back right away saying, because of COVID, we're going to delay the search.
Right.
So, okay, that's fine. But then eventually they called me back, and I went through the process.
Wow,
So
amazing.
Here I am today. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And we're happy to have you.
No, thank you so much.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, that was some, I guess, shoes to fill. Like, was Jim Anderson, because he was, 44 years.
Yeah.
Everybody
26
knew.
years as the zoo director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So was that transition tough, or was it welcoming?
yeah, the community was really welcoming. Everybody was fantastic. The staff was welcoming.
Nice.
Definitely felt good coming here. And at any time, I never felt like, oh, this was a mistake. We shouldn't have done this. It was always a really great experience.
Yeah.
And Jim helped build a beautiful zoo. So I really inherited a gem. Right.
So
no complaints.
Jim did a nice job.
Jim did
Yeah.
an amazing job.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the other thing I was noticing too is obviously the executive director of Fort Wayne Zoo we have here. If you didn't know that, so and what I thought interesting is you do some guest lecturing.
Oh,
What are those about?
People love to hear about the zoo. They love to hear behind the scenes things.
Yeah.
They love to hear how it works. And so I've been invited to different colleges to come and speak about the zoo, which is
Awesome.
always a lot of fun.
That's cool.
So yeah,
That's cool.
it's great to do that.
Yeah.
And, the next generation, we want them to love zoos as much as this generation, and it's important for them to hear how zoos work and why we're good.
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
Anything we missed?
Well, this is from a personal situation. You have a lot of geese out here in your safari area there, African area, and maybe you're training these geese. I'm not sure, but I do have a short story to share with you. A couple of weeks ago, my car was parked at the office, and I had cracked the windows, the front driver's side and passenger side, about this far. I came out to get in my car and opened the door, and somehow, I'm guessing it was a goose, had managed to drop its business right down between the window and the window frame.
Oh no.
Onto the door handle and the floor and the seat and all kinds of stuff. And I looked at the rest of the car. Nothing else had gotten touched.
Not the top of the car. Not.
Nothing. So I cleaned it up. And later on, I came out to get into the car and threw something in the passenger side. And the exact same thing happened on the passenger side.
That's strange.
Well, that's why I'm thinking you got some sort of training program, some seminars that these geese are going to. That
accurate accuracy, target practice.
Yeah, that would be
I
great.
mean, it was, and didn't I show it to you? Didn't you see the passenger side?
Yes, I did.
So I don't have. I should have taken a picture, but I didn't realize I was going to get the two opportunities to take pictures. But
that sounds like some birds that were placing some bets, and it sounds like one of the birds won a bet.
I would say so. Yeah. But what,
Oh man.
so that's my bird animal zoo story.
Yeah.
We have way better birds and things here.
I wish we didn't have them out there. They're definitely an invasive species that we can't do anything about it. And at SeaWorld, we had seagulls. So there's always some kind of bird haunting me. But, you know, they leave the animals alone pretty much.
No, that's good. So I had a burning question I wanted to ask, I guess. And it's like, and now this is for everybody, I think, too. It's like, you know, you wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, what's my why? What's my passion that's like getting me out of bed? You know, what's my goal today? You know, things like that. And I feel like, you know, you're involved with a lot of things in Fort Wayne now, other than the zoo. But like, is it the zoo that's the passion for you? Is it something else that's getting you going every day? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I would definitely say that I'll let Dan answer that first. I'm just joking. Just joking.
Dan's gonna hear ours, and he's gonna be like, I'm gonna use that one.
My goal every day is to get rid of more geese. That's my
good.
mission.
Yeah.
I'm super passionate about taking care of the employees and our guests. I mean, I love this kind of environment because there's a great staff. They're dedicated to their work here. They love the animals. They do incredible work. And so as the leader of this institution, I want to do the best I can to help support them. And so if that means working on, improving salaries, benefits, recognition programs, training programs, things that I can do, that I can help offer to make it a better place. I really love that. It's just a passion of mine.
Right.
And of course, the guest experience. When people come to the zoo, I want them to have a great time. So I spend a lot of time in the zoo watching and listening and making notes and making changes to make the guest experience better.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes you a great director too. Is like, you take into consideration what everyone else is going through, what everyone else's needs and everything. So that's great. That's a great why.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you have to make any major changes when you got here? Was there anything that was glaringly you thought, oh, I really should switch this around?
No, I think that when I came in, the zoo was in great shape, but when somebody leads an institution for 26 years, there's a point where you've got your guardrail set up and you know what you want to do and you know how you want to do it and you're doing it. And that just opens up opportunity for somebody new to come in and say, okay, but how about you do it this way? Or, hey, let's add this to the mix. And, so there was a lot of, we didn't think about that, or that's a new way to do it, or that's different. So I would say there was nothing glaring that I had to come in here and fix and improve. But there was a lot of opportunities to change things up a little bit, make them a little bit better, just a different approach.
So what was the first, do you remember what the first thing was that you did change?
Gosh. Well, sure. I remember a couple things. I talked a little bit about employees and how important that is to me. We didn't have a human resources department. And so I said, well, I asked the senior staff, do you feel that that's something that's important for us to have? And they were unanimous. They all said around the table, yes, we need that. Yes, please, we need to do that. So we added a human resources department. Then I talked about the guest experience also being important. And I noticed that there were a lot of moms in the morning coming in with their strollers carrying their Starbucks. And I thought, wow, can we just add a coffee cart at the entrance so you don't have to buy the Starbucks? You can come to the zoo and buy the coffee at the zoo. Yep. So we built a little coffee shop right at the entrance to help with that.
I will say that's the first thing I do. I get an iced coffee when I walk in with the kids.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
That's good.
So those were a couple of the very first things I did. And then there's been a lot since.
Oh yeah.
Haven't you added some events?
We did. I've added, I don't know, 5 new events to the zoo. And that's really just another reason to come back. I want people to feel like, okay, yeah, I come to the zoo once a year, maybe twice a year, but now I want you to come back because I want you to come back to do the Halloween event. I want to do a holiday event, so you come back in the holidays. We did a spring break event this year where we opened for the first time for spring break, so you could come and see what does the zoo look like, before the season really begins. We've added a dinosaur event. We added an adult event. So the zoo closes at 6, and at 6:30 it reopens for adults only. And we've added alcohol, live bands, specialty foods, animals, of course. And we did a little survey. And what I love about that is people are coming back to the zoo that haven't been here for years. So we surveyed, and they said, oh, we haven't been to the zoo for years, so this was a reason to come back. But when I said, what did you like about the event? It was kind of this flat line. Did you like the alcohol? Yes. Did you like the food? Yes. Did you like the animals? Yes. Did you like the socialization? Yes. The one that was off the chart was no kids. People wanted to come to the zoo with no kids. So
it's like seeing it in a new light. You're like, all right, instead of strolling the kids around, you get to do it yourself.
Right. And just hang out and have fun and enjoy the zoo.
We have one kid
We've got
right here.
We've got some kids
that
are
hang out with
looking
us.
our way.
Maybe
Hi,
he'll
buddy.
come in.
Hi.
I love it. That was right on.
Yeah, perfect. That was perfect. He's definitely going to crash the party.
Right.
So yeah, again, so the events were just another reason to come back to the zoo.
We did not stage that either. That was
perfect. Perfect timing.
So my other question was, like, why have zoos? Like, what's the importance? What's like the all around zoos? Maybe not just this one, but like in general.
Yep. I mean, I think there's a couple things you would think, okay, let's think of the guest perspective, and that is something to do. I want to go out and do something in the community. I want to learn about animals. I want to see animals. I love animals. I think the zoo's opinion would be we want people to come to the zoo to get excited about animals, to get excited about education, and get excited about conservation. That we want zoos are now here to help inspire people to care about animals at the zoo, but also worldwide.
Right.
And Jack Hanna would always say, you got to touch the heart to touch the mind. So get them here, fall in love with an animal, and then think, oh my gosh, these animals are endangered outside the zoo. What can we do to help?
Right. And you guys do a huge job with the conservation work. Like, I mean, globally. I mean, you're over. How many different countries are you assisting?
Well, we've got 30 different programs that we support around the globe. Several are local as well, but we take $1 of every admission and $1 of every membership and put it towards our conservation fund. We have a program where the staff can come forward with recommendations on conservation efforts that they believe are important. And the committee reviews all those requests, and then we select the conservation partners we want to work with. Right. And then we keep in touch with them throughout the year to just keep up to date on the project and the work they're doing, and help support.
Do you have any examples of where you are with that work?
Yeah, there's a couple of examples. I mean, Hellbender is a local animal that we support, and we have great success in the back area. Guests can't even see our Hellbender program at the zoo, and the idea is that there's so few Hellbenders now in Indiana rivers. We are raising them here and then bringing them to the rivers to populate the rivers again.
Wow.
Say the name
And
of
so
it again?
it's a Hellbender. Yeah, we'll have to get a picture of a Hellbender for you.
But I'll Google it.
There are, he's gonna put it on the screen.
You know what's kind of funny is we said Hellbender on here, and now we're gonna be explicit for our episode.
Oh yeah,
right.
sorry.
Adults
This was
only.
an editing opportunity. I'm sorry.
Jake's back here. He's shaking his head. He's like, "That was a terrible dad joke,"
Oh, it's an amphibian.
Yeah, yep. And we have them at the zoo, and you can see them through our Wild Encounter program. You can't just see them as a guest. You have to sign up for a Wild Encounter program to see them. They're really interesting, unusual-looking creature. We're going to put it up on the screen.
Yeah, that's great.
So
So you literally just breed them here and send them?
Yeah, and then bring them and put them back in the rivers.
That's amazing.
Mariana fruit dove at the Mariana Islands.
Yeah, you're like Rick.
Yeah.
Rick's like, yeah, I've seen a few of those.
Yep. We send our vet for 3 weeks out of the year to find these birds in the Mariana Islands because the brown tree snake has overtaken the island and it eats these birds, and they're going to become extinct if we don't get these birds and actually move them to other areas in that region so they can survive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so she goes for
Your
3
vet.
months of the year. Our vet.
Fort Wayne Zoo's vet goes.
Fort Wayne's vet is over there with some other veterinarians and specialists to help get these birds and save them from this snake.
Well, it's one of those things like ecosystem and all that stuff, right? You have to balance it all and make sure everything's, like bees. Everyone makes fun of bees, but without bees, we have no life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's things like that where you got to keep it balanced.
Yeah. And so, I think a lot of people that come to the zoo don't think about that. They might not even care about that. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to care about that. And so we are going to do what we can to help support those efforts.
Right. And like, I think if people know this, like now they do, maybe they didn't know this, now they do. And it's like, hey, maybe I'll come to the zoo and think a little differently.
Yeah.
Right?
And we do fundraisers throughout the year to fund the zoo, because that's another issue, is funding the zoo and paying for the food for the animals and paying for the staff and to build things. But we do fundraisers just for conservation. So our Corks for Conservation is all the money raised for that goes to conservation partners. It does not go to the zoo.
Nice. So food to the animals. Is that all organic? Is that organic from the zoo or organic from the stores?
Yeah, well, we've got a commissary, and so it's a team of 3 or 4 people that are in there every morning preparing all the food for the animals, and then the keepers go in and they get their food and bring it out.
Wow. On like platters and
different means, but so there's
That's
a whole
cool.
team that's responsible for that.
Nice.
So fundraiser wise, Rick, what are the biggest, most important ones for the zoo that you do?
So the most important way to raise money for the zoo is to come to the zoo and buy an admission or buy a membership. That's the big Megillah for us, is general admission. And a lot of people don't know this about the zoo. We are one of 10 zoos in the country that doesn't receive any taxpayer support. Most zoos receive some kind of funding from the government. We do not receive anything. So admission is huge, membership's huge. But then we have our fundraisers, our Zoofari event, Zoobilee event, or people that just want to donate to the zoo for various reasons. We love that. We appreciate that. Right. And that keeps us going. Again, it pays the staff. It makes this zoo beautiful. And if you think about it, I came up from San Diego. I had no idea what this zoo was going to be. And I remember walking through the entrance to Africa there thinking, oh my gosh, this is a gorgeous zoo. This is beautiful. Unlike so many zoos in the country that are, brick and mortar, big buildings. And it was funded by this community.
Was that before you took the job, or
it was when I was going through the process?
Yeah, okay.
Because I wanted to come out and see the zoo. I said to the board, please, I just want to walk it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't tell anybody I'm here. I just want to check it out on my own.
You got to.
Right. And just blown away by it. It's just fantastic quality. And I hear it over and over and over again by my colleagues that I bring to the zoo. We had inspectors here from the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, and they came in saying, oh my gosh, a children's zoo. This is incredible. This is not what we expected. The gentleman from the National Zoo, you have more animals here than we have in D.C.
Really?
Right? That was
Seriously?
my reaction. One of the inspectors, I would want to work at this zoo. So it's a really fabulous
Nothing
zoo.
against San Diego and anything like that, but like I have San Diego friends and Chicago friends that want to come to Fort Wayne for the zoo.
Yeah.
When they come and visit family and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're like, they're blown away. They're like, I don't know if it's because they're closer to the animals or what, but yeah.
I mean, it's a combination of things, I think.
When I first came here and I heard Fort Wayne Children's Zoo, which is the name of it.
Yep.
It gives you an image of like you can
petting corrals.
Yes. Yeah. Which I think at the time you could. Maybe you still can. But
you can.
But it is so much more than
so much more.
So it's almost misleading. It almost is not fair to the zoo.
Yeah.
To be called that.
Yeah, and that's true. And Jim would always say, we want to lower expectations are low, and then when you get here, you're blown away by it. But you're right. I think a lot of people come into town and maybe disregard us because they just think it's a petting corral. It's not a real zoo, and maybe don't come and visit us because of that. So that's something that is on my mind sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So is there interest in or an opportunity to change the name of it and eliminate the children's part of it?
I mean, obviously, anything's possible. That could be a reality. We have a lot of zoos in the region. Potawatomi Zoo is 90 minutes away. Columbus Zoo is a couple of hours away. Toledo Zoo. There's Chicago, and then Indianapolis Zoo is 2 hours away.
Right.
So there's a lot of zoos. So are we a point of difference being a children's zoo?
Yeah.
So that's worth asking.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that method though. Like lower the expectations so that you can
blow them away.
Yeah, blow them away. Be the
get here.
superhero. I feel like I have people at work like that. They're like, I'm gonna give you that lead time of like 3 weeks, and then I'll come in at 2 weeks. Really, I'm Superman. But there's 4 pillars of Rick's like theories, and I wanted to just really quickly like go over those 4 pillars.
Sure.
I think they're super cool.
Yeah, no, they are cool. So Zoo for All is one of them, and Zoo for All just means that anybody that wants to come to the zoo is able to do that, right? So if you can't afford the zoo, well, there's a way to come to the zoo anyway. If you can't travel to the zoo, if you need special help getting on rides or getting around the zoo,
Nice.
So Zoo for All, it just means that it's
So
available
if
to
you have
all.
like a handicap or something like that, you'll find a way to get them
Right,
on
we
that,
just
on that train.
right, and the zoo's accessible to them. So the carousel, we just redid the entry ramp so wheelchairs can get on there easily.
Nice.
So we're always looking at ways to improve and make that better. So end of the day, if you want to come to the zoo, there's a way for you to get to the zoo. So
And if
Zoo
you have
for
kids,
All.
there's kids. If you want to go to the
Right.
the
The
beer
adult
event,
only.
the beer event, you can come without kids. You're saying, right? So it's for everybody.
Yes. The second pillar is love for wildlife. Of course, we're a zoo, so we want people to come to the zoo to become educated, learn about the animals, understand conservation, learn a little bit about what we do and how we care for the animals. And then, of course, the staff that works with the animals, that they're all in, they're trained, they're the best they can be as animal experts. Incredible experiences is the third pillar, and that is making sure that everybody coming to the zoo has a great experience, an incredible experience. And that is not only guests, but it's the employees, that they have an incredible experience, and volunteers. We have over 500 volunteers that support the zoo. 300 are teenagers, which is unbelievable to me. Right? Teenagers that could be on social media or could be playing video games like we talked about, but they're here at the zoo helping to plant plants, helping the zookeepers, helping learn about conservation, helping to educate guests.
That's amazing.
It's
Maybe that's
incredible.
where that children's
It's
part comes
incredible.
in too. Who
That-
knows, right?
Absolutely, that's a part
So
of it. for
500
sure.
plus 300? Is that what
500 total. So
okay.
more teen volunteers than adult volunteers, but grateful for all of them, for sure.
Was that the third pillar? Was there?
That was the third. The
Third?
fourth
Okay.
is organizational excellence, and that's just making sure that we are good stewards of our finances, that we're taking care of the zoo, that we keep human resources in mind, environmental concerns in mind, sustainability.
And
all
even
those
with
things.
like you said, you're not getting any tax money. Like you're not double dipping. You're like, hey, every money is coming here. And
Right.
it's going to work. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely, exactly. That if somebody's going to give to the zoo, we're going to spend it the right way, and make sure it goes to the animals and the zoo. Just
Yeah.
we're mindful of
great.
that.
So if you're watching and listening, please give.
Yes,
Yes.
Give to
Thank
the
you
zoo.
for saying that. Absolutely, everything helps for sure. Yep.
How challenging is it to find people to work here? Do you have a challenge like everybody else does?
No, we do quite well. So we do in March we do a job fair, and so at that time we have probably about 110, 120 seasonal positions open, and we usually fill every spot at that job fair.
Congratulations.
Keepers are generally, it's a niche that people, you don't there aren't many keepers in the world, so they tend to be harder to find. But we do pretty well here. We had an orientation on Saturday that I walked around with the group, and two keepers. There were three keepers. Two of them, one was from the St. Louis Zoo, and the other one was from. Of course, now I'm not going to remember offhand, but another
like big name.
It's going to drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, wow, you left a big zoo to come to this zoo, which we were pretty excited about. Columbus Zoo.
Oh, wow.
Another big
Yeah, it's
zoo.
huge. Yeah.
Right, to come to this zoo. So we're a legitimate world-class zoo. We're a big player, and I think people recognize that, we're in it. And what's kind of cool is we're not so big that there's all this bureaucracy, and I think keepers love the fact that they can make a difference and they can be involved and work closely with the animals. And
Well, the keeper story too, like when animals are not healthy, are you able to tell any of the stories like when they go to the hospital? Are you able to say any stories like that?
Well, I mean, what's great about it is we're such a small institution where a keeper could just call the vet and say, hey, here's the problem. This is what I'm seeing. Can you come out? And we'll have somebody come out right away and look at the animals.
But have you ever had to take one to like a hospital?
They take them to our vet hospital.
Vet hospital? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a hospital on the property?
We
here?
do have a vet hospital here on property.
Yeah.
Yep. We do.
So they're involved in all that, like
Yes.
just
They're
keeping all the animals healthy. And
highly
everything.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So define a zookeeper, because probably most people think you are the zookeeper.
Yeah, I'm
right?
not a zookeeper. And,
Right.
and you asked earlier about my experience at SeaWorld. What did I not do? I actually never worked with the animals at SeaWorld. I worked side by side with the trainers, but I was actually never an animal care expert. And I love animals, and I know a lot of people say, well, shouldn't you be all about animals? And I am about animals, but zookeepers are really the people that are all about the animals, and they live it every single day. A lot of people say it's like their pets, so they're really responsible for the day-to-day. They come in, they make sure they're doing well, they help clean up their spaces, they make sure they're eating, they keep track of all their animal behavior. Every single day there's a chart that they turn in about the animal's behavior, something different, something unusual. Are they eating as usual, or do they not eat something? I mean, it's pretty intense.
When you're a good leader that way because you empower them. They know what they're doing. They do it every day, and you're like, hey,
yeah,
figure it out, right?
Yeah, they know, and they work with enrichment just to keep the animals interested and engaged. Sometimes you go to zoos and you might see the pacing behavior of an animal going back and forth. There's a wide variety of that. Why that happens, but one of the things we try to do is just have enrichment happening, so the animal's always thinking about different things and engaged in different ways. So they've got their hands full with husbandry and then educating guests. Every day they might have a keeper chat where they're engaged with the guests, talking about their animals.
Are we husbandry? What is that? What's that word?
That's what I was wondering too.
Animal husbandry.
It's the basic care of the animal throughout the day. So exercise.
Oh, like what wives do for their husbands.
Oh, is that what it is?
Basic care.
And then
It's
they
that.
should.
It's
As
that.
they should. Yes. So, Rick, a little bit off topic here, but do you study the demographic makeup of your guests? And do you know, for instance, how many folks come from, say, the immediate area, maybe Allen County or Northeast Indiana? How many come from beyond that space?
I do know that. So within 60-minute drive, it's about 50% of our attendance. Then it goes to 90-minute drive, and then outside of really our region is only 14%. And so, we all know, this kind of goes back to the children's zoo conversation. We all know in this community what the children's zoo is, right? Within 30 miles, 60 miles. But anybody outside of that probably doesn't know what a children's zoo is. And so we say, can we improve that 14%? Can we get more people coming to the zoo that's outside of that 90 minutes,
Sure.
let's say? And is it because of the name? Or is there just too much competition out there?
So what do you think it is?
It's a really good question, and I debate that often.
Yeah, that's it.
I
It's
do.
probably some combination. I'm
It's got to
sure,
be a
you know.
combination.
Well, even just us talking right now, it's come up a couple times. So it's definitely interesting.
It is
dynamic
really
wise.
interesting. It is interesting.
So the only other couple things I had too is we were talking about this. Dan and I were even just about the Zoofari coming up. You walk in, maybe it was Andrea. We were saying you can't go in without talking to, like, literally, you know, everybody, and zoo has become the center of the community.
Yeah.
It really has. I don't know when or how, but I think that's like important that to you and to everybody. It's the hub.
Yeah, we are the #1 attraction in Fort Wayne for sure. It's tough. We're seasonal. You know, when I started, we were only a 6-month operation. We're now 9 months, so we're trying to expand that opportunity for guests to come back. But, you know, I actually was going to pose that question to you guys as to why you think the zoo is the center of attention, why you think the zoo is a big deal.
Yeah, I like that question. And
Well, I first of all, it's a really, really nice zoo.
Yeah.
It's well kept. You know, there's not a lot of litter lying around.
No.
It's a clean place. And for family fun, I mean, I don't know how it gets any better than coming to the zoo, getting away from your cell phone or from your iPad and being in nature and enjoying. I mean, to me, that's
right.
That's when
That's
we
what it's
brought
all
our
about.
kids here. That was the reason.
I just want to play off that clean zoo. It is such a clean zoo. And when I first got here, I was annoyed because the park operations team, they didn't carry pans and brooms or pickers. At SeaWorld, we always had to carry a pan and broom to clean up. And I was annoyed. And my first instinct was, everybody needs to carry this pan and broom. But then I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, this zoo is so clean. It looks so nice. There's no problem to solve here. Yeah. So I let it go, but now we've eventually gotten there. But
it shows you care.
It's a nice zoo.
It's a clean place.
I mean, the attendees are keeping clean too, then, right? People that come to the zoo.
Yeah, they're well behaved.
Yeah.
Are they
There's the background of that story.
Every once in a
well
while.
behaved as the animals?
Yeah.
That's the real question.
Maybe on the beer nights it's not so much, but
But it is nice to be in a community where they love the zoo so much. I mean, if I wear the zoo shirt, I'm not wearing it today for some reason. I should have. But when I'm in the grocery store and I'm wearing the zoo shirt, probably somebody will stop me to say, "Oh my gosh, we love the zoo so much," or "Do you work at the zoo? It's such a great place." They love it.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
when I think for me, it's like comes back to my why of why I do things during the day and all that stuff. And I think it comes back to like my kids and everything and showing them a good example, I guess. And I think that's what the zoo does. It shows a good example. You can show them things outside of what they are cultured to, I guess.
Yep.
Their regular day. But it's really, really humbling to have this in Fort Wayne too, I think too.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is. And it's such an honor for me to be able to lead this group.
Right.
You know, I could never have imagined. And so,
Rick, I don't know if we're at this point or not, but what's on the drawing board, or maybe more
what's
more
next?
broadly,
Yeah.
what's your vision for moving forward? What's next?
right. That's a really great question. So I'm going to answer that in two parts. First, I'm going to answer short term, what's new at the zoo and what we're working on now. And then I'll talk about long term, if that's okay with you guys. Yeah. Okay. So short term, new at the zoo. You might have noticed when we were walking in, we've kind of redeveloped one of the older areas in the zoo. It was rainforest. Indonesian rainforest. So we wanted to add red pandas, and so we created a new realm called Asian Trek with a whole new red panda exhibit. There's a cubbing barn, so hopefully we'll have baby red pandas, which will be really cute. But on the other side of that is a new play element for kids. We call it Bamboo Forest. It's a rope climb, rope swing, an adventure play, 2-story. There's 27 elements where families of all ages can get up on this thing and just spend 30 minutes playing. There's a new eatery in the area, new restroom. So we've kind of redone that whole space. We brought lemurs back to the zoo. We've brought bentorongs back to the zoo. And hopefully within the next couple of months, we're going to open a new revamped sea lion exhibit, redoing all the rock work, adding a new sunning beach for the animals. We've redone the back area. We're going to add a second species. We're going to add seals. So it will be sea lions and seals, because most guests walk up saying, look at the sea lions, but they're actually, look at the seals, they're actually sea lions. So now they're going to have both species up there. So that will be at the end of the year.
Nice.
So that's short-term stuff. Long-term, we are working with a group on our master plan. So a 15 to 20 year plan on what the zoo could look like in the future. So that could include adding new species, large species, maybe rhinos or hippos, who knows?
Right.
But it's putting together this list of species we'd like to have at the zoo, improving infrastructure, creating new facilities at the zoo, expanding the footprint. Again, what that zoo could look like in the next 15
Is
to
there
20
ground
years.
to do that?
There is a little bit of room. We've developed 42 of the 70 acres, so there's some space to expand. Not a lot. Some of it's not really workable space. But also maybe a part of that is, Franke Park, they've got a master plan now, and they're doing phase 1 now. But before they get to phase 2, maybe we could say, hey, is there any wiggle room? Can we, squeeze some space out of this area here and expand the zoo? So those are conversations we could still have. But yeah, that's sort of where we are now with the long-term plan.
Who owns the zoo?
So the zoo is a private nonprofit run by a board of 24, the Zoological Society. We are in Franke Park. We used to be run by the city. But many, many years ago, they created I don't remember what year, they created the Zoological Society. And so we are a private nonprofit now that's really needs funding from the community. That's really how we survive.
Right. Well, I think from the master plan, you're here to stay. 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Hey.
We'll see.
Yeah, I
I
love
was
it.
going to actually ask you that question. Do we get to keep you for a while?
Yeah.
4 years in, I love it. It's a really great community. We've already talked about how great the zoo is. Having a lot of fun. Love the team. Couldn't do it without this team. They mean a lot to me, and so yeah, I'm here. I'm not going at this point.
Yeah. Great. Well, Rick, seriously, thank you for having us.
We have a couple questions.
Yeah,
on
we got
this
questions back
side.
here.
You got some questions.
All right.
Call-in questions. Okay, I like it.
Oh, one of my questions is, well, I have a couple, but if you could be any animal for 24 hours, what animal would you choose?
Yeah, so this is going to be a tricky one because I'm going to go where my heart is with animals, and that's killer whales. The reason why I got into this business was because of killer whales at SeaWorld. 13 years old, I saw my first killer whale at SeaWorld, and I was hooked. And so they're amazing animals. They're the top predator of the sea, but they're also gentle in their own way. So I would want to be, I think, a killer whale for 24 hours just to see how incredible that would be to swim at those depths.
How old were you when Free Willy came out? Is that part of that?
Free Willy was, I think, that was a little bit after that.
Okay.
A little bit after that. Yeah.
That was good. That was
Another question, this is something I've always wanted to know, but where do all the animals go in the winter
That's a
time?
really great
since we're
question.
just summer here, spring through fall, but just curious, do they stay here? Do you get big zoo vans and they go
home,
to
we
Florida?
take them home. No, so some of the animals actually stay out throughout the winter. So like the lynx, you'll see at the entrance, the lynx will stay out all winter long. The otters can come and go outside. Sea lions can come and go if they want. Even if you go over to the lion exhibit, sometimes the lions will come out and walk in the snow. Animals like you see here behind me, probably too cold for them, so they would go inside to one of our barns. So behind the scenes, we've got a variety of barns for these animals to live in. They still have outdoor access, but on those snowy days, we keep
Can
them
we call that
inside.
Noah's Ark?
We could,
Noah's
absolutely,
Ark,
yeah.
Do you have to coax them to go inside, or do they just it's really cold out here, I think I'll go in that barn? How does that work?
Sometimes we have to help them. But it's a pretty easy process. The animals have learned the routine and they know what's going on.
Yeah. So they're pretty happy.
Yeah, they're happy animals.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, you said you've never been a zookeeper, but you've definitely been around animals over all these years. Which animal made you the most nervous to be around?
Great question.
Yeah. So
The human animal.
the humans. No. So I'm told one of the most dangerous animals we have here at the zoo is the hyenas. But you always think of lions and tigers, right? When you think of dangerous animals, but the hyenas, their bite is so vicious and
they just look mean too, you know?
They do look
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
They do look mean. So, I think any of those animals that lions and tigers, you got to be careful and cautious. And there's all these safety protocols that happen behind the scenes. And so I always say, I don't want the keys to everything. You get the keys, you're in charge here. No, I don't want keys to the dangerous animal areas. I don't want to walk into a space by accident where I shouldn't be.
So you don't walk around with that big key.
No, I
thing?
keep away from those animals.
So you don't want to
Only
be
the pros
The
get
animal
those
dungeon
keys.
master.
Yeah.
so you don't want to be around the dangerous animals. Do you have any pets, or did you grow up with pets that kind of led
Yeah.
you into this?
I think my love for animals came from my mother. She always had dogs and cats and fish around. Always loved animals. She would always stop people with animals, talk to the animals. She would go to the San Diego Zoo all the time. Now, when I moved to San Diego, I mentioned I fell in love with SeaWorld. I wasn't old enough to work at SeaWorld, but I convinced my mom to work at SeaWorld. So she started working at SeaWorld first, so we could be around the animals. And when she retired, she ended up painting, and so she painted animals. So in my office, I've got some of her, some giraffes, some beautiful artwork she did on giraffes.
awesome.
How did she get them to sit still for that?
Yeah, I don't know how she did that, but I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Yeah.
Well, the animals obviously like you, because if people watching at home, there's a bird. If you turn around right there on the post, it's pretty much been there the entire time.
Dan, watch out.
That's great.
Watch out, Dan.
It's
Enjoying
left,
the podcast.
came back. Yeah, it's a fan.
You have
So,
a new audience member.
I love it.
It's awesome.
And the little chipmunks have been running
Yeah, the
around.
chipmunk's been around here too, and some big beetle that came by
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
That
Okay,
was
sorry,
frightening.
2 more questions. So, what animal is the most favorite animal of everyone that comes in, kids and adults, and which is the favorite animal of all the employees, staff?
Oh gosh. So, giraffes are pretty popular. A lot of people come in the gate and right away they want to know if the giraffes are at the feeding platform. Red pandas, people really love red pandas. They're really cute. That was our #1 selling plush last year, red pandas, so people do like them. Orangutans are popular. Sea lions are really popular. But giraffes are probably right up there at the top of the list.
You can get really close to those giraffes.
You can get really close. You can feed them. It's fantastic.
That's awesome.
It's a great
Don't see every day.
opportunity.
I should know this, but are there alligators or crocodiles?
We do
here?
have alligators at the zoo.
Are they in the aquarium area?
They are in the central part of the zoo, right near the farm.
Yeah, okay.
Right near the train, really.
Alligators.
Alligators, yep.
Do the staff have a favorite animal? You mentioned a Polly, I think, before.
Penny, the
Penny,
ostrich,
sorry.
she walks
That's what I was
around.
wondering.
People really love Penny. She's definitely a star, loves the attention. Staff is difficult just because there's all the keepers and they take care of their animals,
Right.
and they love their animals. They're passionate about their animals. And sometimes if you ask them to pick their favorite, they would say, well, that's like picking a favorite kid. I just can't do that.
Yeah,
I love them
yeah.
all, even though we all have our favorite kid.
They're walking. Wait, I'm not going there.
Right.
So which one's yours?
Yeah.
Really good question.
So, what is on your wish list? Like, there's one thing that our audience could get, other than, of course, to support the zoo in any way, either to be able to financially donate or just to come to visit, which helps also. But is there one big wish that you have that maybe people wouldn't
Yeah, we always
necessarily
tell
think of?
People in these what's the key takeaway that you would want to just everybody hear and
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I mean, I think we've already talked a lot about it today, and it's just bringing the family to have a wonderful day with the family, seeing animals and being with each other, right? Experience animals. Animals bring joy to people. Family zoo. Connecting those kids and animals is so important to us. And so, the key takeaway is just to come and enjoy and buy a membership so you can come back and enjoy all the special events that we've created, reasons to come back, and enjoy this gem in the community because it is such a gem. We are really blessed to have this zoo here.
Right. Well, awesome. And yeah, thank you so much.
You bet.
This is welcoming us here. This has been special for us. And we'll get you a Sweetwater here. One of these,
That's
one of these
all right.
times.
It's been great fun. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Perfect.
Boy, me too.